Nori's finally here in Brawl Stars, so here's a full guide on how to use it. Whether you want to prestige Nori or whack your enemies out of existence in rank, this video will help you by covering Nori's mechanics and abilities, the best build that you need to use for him, and some of the best game modes and pro tips for this fish pond brawler thing. And yeah, if you want to see more brawler guides and other cool stuff, be sure to like and subscribe. I mean, look at how many of you aren't subscribed. It breaks my heart, man. Now, I spent almost $40 just to unlock Nori because my randoms in this early access event, man, just don't even get me started. But yeah, after playing this brawler for a few days and even managing to prestige him, it's safe to say that he's a solid, super spectacular, sensational S tier brawler. Now, Nori is the newest legendary brawler, and you guessed it, another assassin brawler. Nori's main attack, Fishing Fury, is basically a fishing rod that you can use to slash forward and deal damage. You can basically charge a fishing rod, and the more you charge it, the more range you end up getting. And if you manage to hit an enemy with the fishing rod, you can basically dash onto them and deal a crazy amount of damage. And if you use a fishing rod at the maximum range on a wall, you can even jump over walls, which is great for escaping from a rolling bolt or something. Now, all of these damage stats right here may sound confusing because there's so many numbers, but I got you. Let me break it down. So as you can see, Nori's normal standing melee attack without charging the fishing rod does 2,200 damage. This is basically a standard attack that you can use when you auto aim or instantly use your attack. Now, when you use your fishing rod and jump onto an enemy with it, you can deal 1,440 damage just by hooking onto the enemy, and another 1,440 damage again just by dashing into the enemy. So in total, you're doing 2,880 damage, and that's if you manage to hook your attack onto the enemy and even dash into them. Even after hooking onto the enemy and dealing 2,880 damage, you can also use your standard attack as well right after hooking onto the enemy and dashing into them, meaning that you're doing a total of 5,080 damage. And that's by utilizing all of his attack mechanics, which is insane. Nori's standard attack has a very fast reload speed as well, so you can spam this thing onto an enemy like crazy. I mean, just look at this, bro. And speaking of Nori's attack, attacking enemies can allow you to catch fish, which you can see right beside your health over here. I'll talk more about how you can utilize the fish throughout the video, so stay tuned, okay? Now, here's a few guidelines for Nori's attack. While you're charging the fishing rod, there's actually a small meter under Nori's health, and this meter pretty much shows you how much you're charging the fishing rod. Once it turns yellow, that means that you're at the max charge for the fishing rod, and you can see that I'm able to jump over walls when I'm at max charge, which is actually insane. The only time that you would lose this charge is if you let go of your attack, and if you obviously use the attack as well. You can use a fishing rod at any range that you want, and it will deal the same amount of damage no matter what range you're using it at. Alright, let's move on to Nori's super catch of the day. Now look, it's nothing special compared to his insane attack mechanics. Basically, Nori's super is a bit similar to Pierce's. You pretty much aim this huge yellow circle onto an enemy, and it allows Nori to dive into the water, and eventually he comes out after a few seconds and deals damage to anyone who's still in the circle. Now remember the fish that I was talking about that you can catch when using your melee attack? You better remember, well, the super consumes all the fish that you have, and each fish actually gives the super a 5% increase in size and 4% increase in damage, which is actually insane. Even if you have 0 fish, you still do 2,500 damage, but the more fish that you have, the more damage and range you'll have with the super. By the way, there's another way to use a fish that you have saved up. I will talk about that very soon, so stay tuned. Alright, now what are my overall thoughts on the child of Kenji and Kaze, you ask? He needs to be nerfed. Like, this guy's attack is so unfair, and the damage output is actually insane. You can literally do over 5,000 damage if you utilize every single attack mechanic in one go. You're almost one-shotting a barley, bro. I think that Nori's super is a bit predictable though, and it's really easy to dodge and counter. Like, if you use a super directly onto an enemy, the delay is pretty long, so they can easily run away from the circle, and because they know where you're sort of diving out from, they can literally pre-snipe you or pre-attack you. It's actually crazy, bro. Like, imagine you use your super on a Mandy and miss. The Mandy can basically have her attack ready and pre-snipe you as soon as you dive out. But overall, this brawler is very broken. In order to fully utilize Nori's broken mechanics though, you really need to understand how both his gadgets and star powers work. So let's break down his abilities. Nori's first gadget, Sushi Snack, is basically another way that you can use a fish that you collect. Using the gadget allows you to use up to 3 fish to heal for 1,000 health per fish, so up to 3,000 health. So for example, if you had 2 fish and used this gadget, you would heal for 2,000 health. And what's crazy about this gadget is that it only has a 12-second cooldown, so you can literally spam it depending on how many fish you manage to collect. And Nori's second gadget, Gonna Need a Bigger Net, basically allows him to shoot a large fish net at an enemy, which has a lot of range, by the way. I mean, just look at that. Basically, hitting an enemy with this fish net would cause the enemy to be rooted for 1.25 seconds, and it also deals a fat 800 damage. Not gonna lie, the damage is pretty low, but the rooting for 1.25 seconds can be incredibly helpful to whack the enemy out of existence. And yeah, this gadget has a 20-second cooldown, which is actually pretty long in my opinion. I'm also going to be showing you the best build that you need to use for Nori very soon. This build allowed me to prestige him really fast. I mean, just look at this, bro. Nori's first star power, Big Haul, is literally a big haul, bro. It allows Nori to catch 3 fish if his super ends ends up hitting an enemy. So if I use my super and hit this robot, then I get 3 fish. It's pretty straightforward. The fish can be useful for many things like this gadget and also dealing even more damage with the super. Nori's second star power, his mother's son, allows Nori to gain 20% speed for a fat 1 second, and that's whenever an enemy gets hit with Nori's main attack. I guess you can use the star power to catch up to an enemy running away if you manage to keep on hitting the enemy. That's really all I can think of. And finally, we have Nori's hypercharge. Oh wait, he doesn't have one yet. Alright, now that you know basically everything about Nori, including how he works in his mechanics and also his abilities, it is now time for me to show you the secret insane pro Nori build. I'm telling you, man, this is a Nori build of all Nori builds, bro. So let me break it down. So yeah, starting off with the gadget, I decided to go with the sushi snack gadget. Now don't get me wrong, the other gadget is also pretty decent as well, but let me tell you why the sushi snack gadget is a better choice. When playing Nori, you're going to be jumping into your enemies a lot, and that's because of his fishing rod attack mechanics and his normal close range attack as well. So chances are you'll be taking a good amount of damage. If you're ever low in health and have like 2 or 3 fishes, you can pop this gadget and easily gain up to 3,000 health, which can help you stay alive for longer and even escape from enemies as well. I also found this gadget to be much more superior than the other one because it only has a 12-second cooldown. So you can basically spam this thing if you wanted to. It's definitely worth using this gadget because of how aggro and close up you'll be playing with Nori. But yeah, moving on to the star power, I decided to go with a big haul star power. Now the other star power is kind of mid in my opinion because all it really does is give you a 20% speed boost for 1 second every time you hit an enemy with the main attack. I don't really see how that can be useful. Like you could use it to run and catch up to an enemy, but you already have a fishing rod with some crazy range that you can use instead. So what is the point of the star power, bro? The big haul star power on the other hand allows you to farm more fish after using your super. These fish can then be used with the sushi snack gadget to heal more, or even towards your next super in order to get more range and deal more damage. So this star power helps with the sushi snack gadget and also your super. Avoid this star power though, okay? Alright, moving on to the first gear, you already know that I had to go with the classic shield gear. Nori has 7,600 health at the max level, which is honestly pretty typical for an assassin brawler. But the moment you equip this shield gear, you get an extra 900 health, putting him at 8,500 health. And for the second gear, I went with the good old damage gear, which allows Nori to do 15% more damage when below 50% health. Now you're probably asking, Kashewz, how are both of these gears useful? Well, like I mentioned before, you're going to be playing aggro with Nori and close up to your enemies because you're literally going to be dashing onto enemies with the fishing rod and also utilizing the close range attack. The extra health can help you stay alive longer, and because you're going to be close up to enemies, there's a good chance that you'll be below 50% health for some times, which means that you can deal an extra 15% damage, which I think is really worth it. Like Nori already does a ton of damage, so this 15% damage boost just makes him even more broken. And yeah, for the viewers watching in the future, whenever Nori's hypercharge comes out and if it's broken, well, I guess equip it to this build as well. Alright, now that you know the best possible build for Nori, let's break down the top 3 best game modes for this brawler along with some good old pro tips. And listen, the last game mode will surprise you, but it's probably one of the best game modes to prestige this brawler. But yeah, starting off with the first and obvious game mode, we got Brawl Ball. I found Nori to be extremely good in Brawl Ball, and I managed to gain a good chunk of my trophies just by playing this game mode. Honestly, I think almost every brawler is great in Brawl Ball, except for you, Chuck. No one likes you. But yeah, when playing Brawl Ball with Nori, you really want to be careful with how you use his attack. Like, you don't want to use your fishing rod and dash into the entire enemy in 1v3 because you're just going to get melted and also allow the other team to charge their supers and hypercharge, and they'll whack your entire team out of existence. The best way to get eliminations is to push onto an enemy that's separated from their team, or you can even push the entire team only if your team is nearby dealing damage. Also in Brawl Ball, you can really utilize the walls and jump over them if you have Nori's fishing rod charged at the absolute max. This can help you surprise attack enemies and whack them out of existence. Alright, moving on to the next game mode that you should play Nori in, we got Gem Grab. Like, is this even a surprise? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't play a crazy amount of Gem Grab games in Nori. I was honestly too busy playing Nori in the last game mode, which I will be revealing soon. But yeah, when using Nori and Gem Grab, I would not recommend being the gem carrier at all. Because if you have, let's say, 8 gems and use your fishing rod and push into an enemy, you do have a chance of getting eliminated and you'll lose all those 8 gems. The maximum amount of gems that you should be carrying with Nori should be like 3 gems. If you notice that the enemy team is cooking your team and they have a lot of gems, you can really utilize Nori's fishing rod and try dashing into the enemy that has the most gems. Then obviously whack them out of existence, use every single attack, use the super, and you'll be dealing a crazy amount of damage. The sushi snack gadget can also help you stay alive for longer, so make sure to utilize that as well. You can also use Nori's super defensively and escape from enemies because it does have a decent amount of range. Also, if you're playing in maps with a lot of bushes, definitely utilize those as well. You can just hide in a bush, charge your fishing rod to the max, and just wait for an enemy and surprise attack them without them even knowing. And finally, the third game mode that you need to play Nori in, and this is a very surprising game mode, is Solo Showdown. I know I usually say say not to push brawlers in showdown because of annoying teamers, but Nori is just insane in solo showdown. He can literally counter every single teamer you see. I literally prestiged him because of solo showdown, bro. Thank you, solo showdown. Now, if you manage to get lucky and get a good amount of power cubes in solo showdown, it's extremely easy to rush enemies and you can easily eliminate them, well, because you have more health and you're doing more damage. Because Nori is such a fast brawler, you can get power cubes very fast and just eliminate the slower brawlers who are still farming power cubes. Nori's range is absolutely insane as well because of the fishing rod. So if you're playing in a map like Cavern Churn, you can patiently wait in the bushes, and then once you spot an enemy, surprise attack them with your long range fishing rod, spam attack them, use your gadget and all that, and whack them out of existence. And you can easily tell that this brawler is crazy in solo showdown because you'll see at least 2 or 3 Noris in most of his showdown matches. This brawler is not fair, bro. And yeah, besides these game modes, Nori is also solid in heist, hot zone, knockout, and bounty. So basically every popular game mode. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, click on this video to see a full guide on how to use Bolt in Brawl Stars.